You were listening to How to Get Over Your Ex, episode number 106. Welcome to How to Get Over Your Ex, a podcast on getting over your ex without it just taking time. I'm your host, breakup coach Dorothy. Let's turn your pain into power and your heartbreak into happy. Hello, my brave hearts. It has been so long since I have recorded a podcast. I used to batch write, edit, record, upload, all of that stuff at once for an entire month. So I did that for June back in May. And then in June, I was supposed to do July's, but I didn't. And I found out that I was a projector, and I don't know if you're familiar with human design. It's been super fun for me to dive into. You can literally just Google human design chart and plug in your information online, and then it gives you your design as well as all these other things. It's a whole new world. I've been having fun playing with it. I'm a projector, and so I put myself into this program called Projector Playground, and it's actually really perfect because I am in there with one of my besties, Lauren Cash, who is another amazing coach who focuses on time and calendaring. She's great. Love her. And a bunch of other amazing, beautiful women, including someone who's in person in my area, which I just think is so fun and so cool after having an entirely virtual year in 2020. So it's funny that I'm recording this podcast sitting in my room, and in my new house, I can't really record in my office. It's very echoey. I need to get some kind of furniture in there or something. So I'm recording in my room. And honestly, I thought about taking the entire month of July off from the podcast. I've never done that. I shouldn't say recording new content for 3 years now every week, but I started out doing blogs, and then I was doing Facebook Lives, and then I moved into the podcast. So I have been creating new content every week for 3 years. I was like, maybe I could take a month off from that. But my beautiful, beautiful brave heart, Colleen, love you, shout out, boo. She voice memoed me this morning, and it just gave me this oomph of inspiration to record. It's July 1st, you guys. And so this podcast episode is going to come out July 5th. And to me, that is very last minute. I haven't done something that last minute in a very long time. I'm a planner. And I am just so excited to talk to you about what she brought to me. But she voice memoed me, and she is a previous client of mine. So she's gone through heartbreak, and then she built this epic, amazing, beautiful life that she loves, and she's in dating right now. And it's so fun talking to her about all of the adventures that she's been on and all of the things. And so she voice memos me today, and she goes, I don't know if this is breakup related specifically, but I have an idea for a podcast episode because it's something that I've been going through and I want to talk to you about. And she started using the Sunday analogy. So if you're new here, if you're new to the How to Get Over Your Ex podcast, you might want to start out with a different episode. I say, it's best if you start with episodes 1 through 5 so you get the basic grounding, and then you can kind of jump around from there. But I have this analogy that it's really important to me and for my clients that you go out and you build this beautiful, epic, amazing life, which is your Sunday. And then your partner is simply just the cherry on top. And so if that cherry rolls off the Sunday, no big deal. You've still got your entire amazing Sunday. Well, as she started dating, she's realizing that she has her Sunday. She's living that concept, breathing that concept, loves all of it. And she's built this amazing sundae, and she's like, I've got the toppings. I decided I don't like walnuts, so I don't put the walnuts on there, but I have the chocolate fudge drizzled on there, or whatever it might be. She's built her beautiful sundae. Well, then she started talking to some of the individuals she was dating, and it was kind of funny because she said that she mentioned the Sunday analogy to some of the men, and she's like, it applies to them too. Who knew? How cool, right? I know that the men listening will appreciate that. So she's like, so here we are. We've got 2 Sundays, right? We've got my Sunday, which has all the toppings that I love, but then he has his Sunday and it looks rather different. And I don't necessarily know if I want to compromise my Sunday and like start taking pieces of my Sunday off and like putting parts of his Sunday on so that we can like merge the Sundays. Like, what does that look like? What does that feel like? Where's the line there? And she kind of just like left it there. And I thought it was really fascinating because I've been having a lot of conversations with my lover. I call him my lover, my partner, my current partner, Jake, about marriage and about, thoughts of the future and kids. And I am really the kind of person that's very open and forward and upfront with all of the things. I remember when I was like dating and we started seeing each other, I have a list of like questions that I love to go through on my phone, which I'll do a completely different podcast episode on, but I love just getting to know someone and understanding what their natural desires are in the world. And when I went into dating, this time I approached it very, very different than I have in the past, obviously because I had not had thought work. And so I've helped a lot of my clients go through this, and it was a very fascinating thing to look at because I think what happens is we say that we fall in love, we have this strong connection with someone, and we think we're soulmates, and we think that, there's a connection and there's sparks and there's all these things. And it's like, oh my gosh, we're just like meant to be together before we actually get to know each other. And then when we know each other, we start compromising pieces of ourselves. And there's nothing wrong with that. I just want to be clear that I'm not like bashing that. Everyone wants to live their life. Like everyone has a different way of living their life, and I'm on board for all of it. Whatever works for you, works for you. I'm just giving you my viewpoint and the way that I've started to do things as I've learned thought work and as I've gone down the self-help journey and like all of the things. So instead of this idea of compromising, I just don't want to. I don't want to compromise anymore. I was in a relationship where I compromised everything, right? The one that I tell all of you guys about. And then I was in a relationship where I didn't compromise anything. Which was my most recent relationship. I really stood in my power and stood in who I wanted to be and who I wanted to become. And we were not what I call want matches, which I'll talk to you guys about in just a second. But we didn't really want the same things. My last partnership, I stood in who I was and who I wanted to be and what I wanted to create in the world. But there was this constant tug of war where he wasn't wanting to do the things I was doing. I didn't want to do the things that he was doing. And he didn't want to be in the same, like he didn't want to move to the same place that I wanted to be. I didn't want to be in the same place he wanted to be, but yet we were still together. And it created this dynamic of, I felt like more alone inside the relationship than I did outside of the relationship. And I was like, oh my gosh, I just feel like I'm doing, like it was almost, I was so independent that I was doing all of these things on my own, when in reality, what I really desired was to do them with someone else. Like and I really wanted my partner at the time to do those things with me, but he just genuinely didn't. And I also didn't want him to do things he didn't want to do. So that's kind of what my client was reaching out talking about today, is where those Sundays don't really match. And instead of trying to like merge the Sundays and like put toppings on someone else's Sunday that they don't like, or vice versa, what I told her and what I want to tell all of you today is that it's so much more beneficial when you find someone who wants the same wants, who desires the same things in life, and then things kind of like zip up like a zipper. It's so much easier. It's so much lighter. And that's what I say about when I talk about love and how you can technically love anyone, because love is a feeling and our thoughts create feelings, right? So our thoughts create feelings. So technically I could go and find a homeless man and be like, have really loving thoughts about him and fall in love with him. But that's not what I want to do. That's not what I desire to do. I desire to be with someone who has the same desires as me in the world. This is why it's so easy for me to love Jake. It's easy for me to have loving thoughts about Jake, my current partner, because we desire the same things. And I went into the relationship asking all of these things from a very neutral place, not attached to the outcome. Very just committed to creating the life that I wanted and that I desire. Okay. And so when I went into this relationship, I asked a lot of questions about, where do you see yourself in 10 years and what have you been doing? Where are you now in comparison to where you want to be in 10 years? That really helped me see, does he actually do the things and has he already worked towards becoming the person he wants to be in 10 years? And then I asked, do you want to stay in the same place that you are now? Do you want to move? Do you want to travel? What does that look like? And I was waiting to see if his desires of his life match the same desires of my life. Because in the past relationship, they didn't. But I still chose to be in that relationship thinking I could just do thought work around it, which again, you totally can do. That's absolutely an option. You can be completely okay with that. I just personally didn't want to. I want to be in a relationship that it's easy for me to have loving thoughts and we want the same things. We desire the same things. So I think it's just fascinating to look at, have you been compromising in your past relationships thinking that that's what you were supposed to do? And then ask yourself why. Why did I compromise in that relationship? And do I want to do that moving forward? Maybe the answer is yes. Maybe you like compromising. And that's totally fine. That's just not what I'm about. And it doesn't really fit the Sunday analogy that we're talking about, where you build this beautiful, epic, amazing Sunday. You keep that Sunday, and then you have that other person as a cherry on top. And then the other person that you're dating, they have their own Sunday, and they also have a cherry on top, which is you. Okay? And that doesn't mean that you don't build a life together. That doesn't mean that you don't create the life that you want together. But always maintaining that same structure to yourself, that same Sunday for yourself. That is just the kind of relationship that I want. And it's been really fascinating talking to Jake about marriage and kids and all of these things and how that all plays into that Sunday analogy, which I'll talk about on another podcast. But I thought it was very fascinating that my client brought this up, and it was just so fun to talk about. So I want to leave you today with two exercises that, one's an exercise and one's more of a concept that I want to leave all of you with today that you can think about, you can do if you are in this space. Some of you might be fresh from heartbreak, and so I would do the work of feeling your feelings and creating closure. We do this work in the program around week 7 and 8. Where we start looking at relationships with others and like the relationship with ourselves and everything like that. So the first thing I want to talk about is something called the connection circle. Now, this is an exercise that I have my clients walk through, where what we do is you list out all the connections that you want in your life. So maybe you want someone to go travel the world with you. Maybe you want someone to go have coffee with on Sunday mornings. Maybe you want someone who goes to the farmer's market, and you want another person who goes to festivals with you, another person who goes to the movies with you. Like, these are all the different kinds of connections that you want. And what happens a lot of times is I think that we think our partner needs to fulfill all of those connections. Like, we ask one human being to fulfill all of those connections, which is really like a losing battle. Typically, all of that can't be met by just one human being. And it's like a lot to ask of another person. Like, I love doing a lot of things with my current partner, Jake, but there are some things that I don't like. He's very good. He's like a night owl and he could like stay out. I am a projector and run out of energy in like 2 or 3 hours. So by like 10 p.m., I'm like, can I go home? And I just want to put on a movie and snack on some popcorn and some dark chocolate chips and like lay in bed. So like that kind of thing he wants to continue doing, and I want him to do what he wants to do, and he has friends that he can go out and do that with. Same thing like with festivals. I don't think I know if I necessarily would want to go to a festival with him, or would I want to, actually we would go to the farmer's market together. I'm trying to think of other things that I wouldn't. I travel a lot with my friend Danica. But of course Jake would also travel too. See, this is the beauty though. Like I find this so fascinating, whereas the relationships I've been in the past, I remember telling myself, gosh, I can't wait till I can do this with so-and-so, my partner, right? I can't wait till I do this with my partner. And I would constantly like wait around for them to like want to do those things with me, like go to the farmer's market or go do swimming or mini golf or something like that with me. And it was a match. Not my first boyfriend, but the boyfriend that you guys heard all about, my ex, that was of 7 years, he lived by the beach, but he hated being on the beach. He hated sitting on the beach, which is something that I love doing. And I love sitting there and reading. And there were things that I wanted to do that he just didn't want to do. And then same thing with my last partner, Matthew, where it was like, I wanted to go to the farmer's market and he would be like, oh my God, I don't want to do that. Like, I don't want to go out. Let's not do that. Or I would want to go to the gym, and it was like constantly pulling teeth and feeling like I was dragging someone along versus them actually wanting to do that. Versus now with Jake, he genuinely likes to sit at the beach and read a book. He likes to come home and get in bed and read a book before we go to sleep. And he wants to go to the farmer's market. He wants to run errands and like get things done. And that is something that I love, that he desires to do that. And I love doing that with him. But it's not pulling teeth. It's not dragging that person along. It's because he wants to do that and I want to do that. And therefore it's called a want match. So going back to the connection circle, it's like, do we really need our partners to fulfill all the connections that we want in our life? So what I do is I have them lay out all the connections that they desire, right? Like, is that a connect? And when I'm talking about connection, I'm saying, do I want a connection of someone going to the festival with me? All the things that I just listed, any versions of that you might have. And then you list all of like the groups of people you have, right? So you've got your high school friends, you've got I'm going to name some off for mine. So I have my high school friends. I have Danica, who's my best friend. I have my close friend circle. I have my coach friends. I have my coach colleagues. I have my acquaintances. I have my family. I have my close family. I have my significant other. And I kind of group them together. And then what I do is I draw arrows to the connections that can be filled by any of those. So it's like, oh, for a festival, I would say I would do that with like my close friends, or maybe even some like acquaintances, or definitely like probably not my coach colleagues or not my family. And so then you can see all of the connections that you desire in life and how they can all be fulfilled. And they don't necessarily need to all be your partner. Intimacy, right? Like you might want to have an intimacy connection. That's you probably want that to be your partner, but also maybe not. Maybe you're totally fine without it being your partner. Maybe it's someone else really close to you. Totally fine. Right? So once you build out that connection circle and you see which connections match to what groups of individuals or one individual, then you can start to look at, what are the things I don't want to compromise on my Sunday, right? You can actually see, I don't need to compromise these things because they're fulfilled in other areas, right? So then once you can see your connection circle, when you actually start dating, you can see if something is a want match. And when I'm saying this word want match, I also want to be clear, this is a Brooke Castillo term. So if you're not familiar with Brooke Castillo at the Life Coach School, she came up with this idea of the want match. And we do them a little bit differently because I have my clients do the connection circle first, which is something that I have created. But the whole concept of the want match is created by Brooke Castillo. I just have a different way of talking about it. because of this Sunday analogy. So when you both want the same things, it makes something so simple. So I highly recommend looking at, does this person naturally want to do this? And if not, that's really important to keep in mind. Do I want to be with someone who doesn't naturally want to do this thing? Right? So important. So important. And another example that's not mine that I can share with you is this client had mentioned, right, where the person she was talking to wants to buy a house, sit on the deck, in a rocking chair maybe. I might be making that part up, but that's not what she wants. To her, that doesn't sound like the life she envisions. It doesn't sound like it's a part of her Sunday. What she wants is to have a house in the Hamptons and in Miami and New York City and like hop around in all these places, not having just like one home somewhere sitting out on the deck. She's like more of a hop around to these different places, peppy kind of individual. So that wouldn't be a want match. And it's so important to recognize that before you get into it, to say, hey, do I want to compromise this? And if I do say yes, why? So important to look at the why. Okay. I hope that concept is helpful for everyone. I really love it. I think it's been a game changer, and it's been a game changer for my clients who are in the Get Over Your Ex program, who have worked on it, and then also beyond, right? All of my Braveheart alumni, as they venture into dating, this is something that is talked about very frequently. So yes, I love it. Also, I just want to mention, now that I have known that I am a projector in human design, what's been fascinating is being a projector. If you're not familiar with human design, there's like 5, and I'm not an expert, so as I'm saying this, please take it with a grain of salt. There are like 5 different types. So there's like generators, there are projectors, manifesting generators, manifestors, and then I think reflectors. And as a projector, I am not meant to do, go. I am meant to lead. And with that being said, I'm supposed to like wait for invitations, which is so hard because I feel like I have so much good advice and so much stuff going on in my brain. But when I don't wait for invitations, what I say doesn't really land with other people very well. So, I would love for all of you who are listening and who think they would love to hear from me about something to just let me know. You can contact me on Instagram at Breakup Coach Dorothy and tell me, I've really wanted to hear about X, Y, and Z. That to me is an invitation to start talking about it. And yeah, I have plenty of beautiful topics to talk about with breakups, and I will never run out of content or material or ideas. But it's also super helpful to hear from all of you and hear what you like and what you're wanting more of and what you would love to get more insight on. So I would love to invite you to share that with me. And yeah, I think it would be fun. But I love you all so, so much. I hope you have an amazing July, and I will talk to you next time. If you're loving the How to Get Over Your Ex podcast and you want to learn how to get over your ex in 3 months or less to build a life better than the one you thought you had with your ex, I would like to personally invite you to my next group course where we take everything you've learned here on the podcast and apply it to your life. Come check it out at www.lifecoachdorothy.com.